Okay, here we are ready to start our part two of technology that changed your world. After you've created and worked on and researched your graphic organizer, you're going to want to start building your Adobe Express video. To do that, first sign into your single sign-on and go into Adobe. You may go through a couple of login or authentications where you just need to log into single sign-on or Google. And eventually you will get to Adobe Express. Now, if you're not seeing Adobe Express, you can click up in the top right corner here and navigate specifically to Adobe Express. Here you'll be at your home screen. If you've already started your video, you will be able to find it under your stuff over here on the left side. But to start off here at the very beginning, we are going to up here at the top, click on video. We're going to go over here to YouTube video, but we want to create one from scratch. Do not browse the templates. The templates will give you too many things that you need to get rid of to make this work. So you're going to click on create from scratch, and it will start you off with a blank screen here. Now, down at the bottom, these are called your scenes. You can kind of think of them like slides, but really this is where your video scene will start out. Over here on the left side, you're going to want to use the media tab for most of your images and sounds and videos. You can also get into elements if you want to take a look at some of the more simple looking sort of art or clip art. So I'm going to start off here with my title slide. Now remember, your very beginning here is going to be a background. I'm going to just look for a photo, and I'm going to use most of these photos just kind of built in. Adobe Express has thousands of photos that work here, and I'm just going to look here for something that's technology, see what works. And I'm just going to pick this very first one just to throw it in here for an example. Now, when I put a graphic in here, I can resize it to fill my entire screen. I've got a couple of other tools here. These are my cropping bars here on the top and the right, where that allows me to kind of crop off part of or cut off part of that image. I also over here on the right side will have layers. So that's where you can really change the order of different things. So for example, if I want multiple texts and I need them on top of each other, that's where I'm going to adjust this. Then I'm going to go over here on my left side and I'm going to work with my text. And you've got a couple of different choices. You've got some sort of pre-built looks. And some of these work really good and some of them are a little difficult to work with. I like to just add my own text and work with it. So I'm going to go ahead and click add your own text. It gives me a little text box here, and I'm going to give it the title, Tech That Changed My World. Or whatever title you want to give it. Now, I've typed that in there. Obviously, it's very hard to read. So I'm going to need to work with some of my different settings over here. My fill setting. What do I want the fill of that text to look like? I can also change the outline. And that is definitely useful if you have kind of a lighter background. Change your fonts and work with some special effects. And I encourage you to just sort of experiment with this and see what looks good. Some of your different layouts. And then what's really cool is down here at the bottom, you can do a lot of different special effects, but also this is where you can add in your animation. How do you want this text to come in? I would encourage you to not pick something that is kind of crazy and makes it hard to read. You're just trying to add sort of a subtle effect. So like flicker, for example, makes it a little hard to read. So I'm just going to add a soft fade, make it pretty quick and soft. And then if I ever want to see how this works or looks, I can click my little play button over here on the right, press play, and it shows me what that's going to look like. Now this is too long for a title slide, so you're going to use these little handles down here to adjust how long your particular scene is showing. So I like to do about 2.5 seconds or so for your title slide, but I'm going to let you use your judgment on what that looks like. Now we're ready to move on to our next scene. And if you're reading with your graphic organizer, that will be your introduction, where you are answering the question about the technology that changed humanity, or what effect do you think technology evolution has changed and how has it affected humanity. If you're looking at your graphic organizer, that's where you answered in box number 1. So I'm going to go ahead and click and add another scene. And I'm going to work with my media and see if I can find a background that works with that. And now if I use a video, it has sort of an animated background. So it's kind of a cool effect. You just want to be careful with that it's not overly animated and makes it unreadable. So I'm going to go ahead and put this here. And right now it goes in as 10 seconds, which is pretty long for a slide, but I'm going to adjust that in a moment. I'm going to insert my text, add my text, and then this is where you will type in your answers and your thoughts on what effect do you think technology evolution over the last 150 years has had on humanity. Now, this should be shorter. We don't want to read a big, huge paragraph. It should be really quick little phrases or bullet points as sort of a presentation of your thoughts. Now I'm going to go ahead and go in here, and we already know how to change the look of this, so I'm not going to have you watch me do that, but I'm going to go ahead and shorten this down. And really, when I'm looking at how long should this be, I recommend sitting there and reading it at a casual rate so that your viewer could read whatever words you put in there. So if that takes them 3 seconds or if that takes them 4 seconds, I wouldn't go over 5 seconds. If you have 5 seconds, that's pretty long. It's going to seem really long, and you probably have too many words on there. So this is meant to be kind of a quick little presentation of each of these. So that's my sort of scene number 2. Scene 1 is my title. Scene 2 is my introductory thoughts. And now this is where I want to start getting into my actual inventions, the ones that I've researched and decided on my graphic organizer. And the way this will work is for each of your inventions, depending on how many you've done on your graphic organizer, you're going to have 2 slides. Or 2 scenes. The first scene is going to be the title of that invention. So for me, this first invention I decided is athletic shoes. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a graphic and put in the text for that one. And I'm just going to pause this real quick while I do that. And I've got my athletic shoes. I added an outline and a fill to make sure it's readable. Again, this is my title of my invention, so maybe 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds. Really don't want it up there too long, just long enough to read it. And then my second scene for this invention is going to be where I put the how and the why, right? The how and the why. Is this the invention that you've decided is the most influential, or one of the most influential from the last 150 years? Again, I'm going to put a background. For this one, I'm going to put a video just because I think I like the look of it. See what pops up and put one in there. I'm going to do a running scene because I think that one looks cool. You put that in there, and it's going to be about 20 seconds long, so I'm going to need to shorten that down definitely. Because I don't want to look at this for 20 seconds. Again, these should be 5 seconds or less generally. And here's where I do the how and the why. So I would insert my text and again, add my text. Now your layout can be one of 2 different layouts. You can either put your text on top of the graphic, or you can do the layout where you've got one half of it is your graphic or your video and the other half is your text. I've seen both methods used. Really, it's which one is more visually appealing and which one is more readable. And there I have that. I may tweak a little bit with my thickness to make sure it's readable. And I may not actually add an animation to this one because that really is going to make it a little bit harder to read as far as the text goes. And I'm going to adjust my timing here to make sure that I could read these few short sentences before it moves on to the next slide. All right, so now as a quick summary here, I've got my title slide, I've got my introductory slide, whatever your introductory thoughts or bullet points are, and then I have my first invention with a title slide and the how and why. And then I'm going to continue to add scenes for each of my inventions until I get to the end of this. And then my final scene is going to be my credits. Now, your credits for this really should just say something to the effect of created by, your name, and then created using music and text and images from Adobe Express, giving them general credit for this. Now, if you wanted to be even more specific, you can click on each of these images. And if you click this little info button right there, it gives you the actual source info, which really it gives you the artist name. And then again, you're going to see it's all from Adobe stock. Now, the final thing we're going to do with this, after we've added our credits at the end, last thing we want to do here is add some music. And you do that from media over here on the left. Click on audio. And this is going to give you a whole bunch of different audio clips that are built in. Even if you find one that you're like, all right, I really would like this cool background music, but click view all, and it'll give you a huge selection of these that you can take a look at what you want. Let's say I want this one here. I'm going to go ahead and drag that one down and add it. You can see it's added it to the bottom. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here so I can see my entire track. And it will allow me to kind of drag it shorter or longer. I encourage you to kind of experiment and have some fun with this. And it's best to do this at the end once you've already have all of your different scenes in here as well. I'm going to go ahead and start it. And this is sort of a mini version of what this would look like. There's my title slide, my introduction, the title of my first invention, and the how and why. And then just imagine you have your additional inventions in there, titles and hows and whys, and then you have your final credit slide. Now, once you are completely done with this, your final step here is to go up to download, and you'll be able to download this as an MP4. You can also share this in a variety of different ways, kind of depending on what your class is doing today. But that's your overall summary of how you can create your How Tech Changed My World video within Adobe Express.